Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be returning to the ongoing Taiga situation because one of the parties involved, Nux Taku, has made several recent responses that I think are worth checking out. Now in a nutshell, what's going on here? Well, to remind you, Taiga is a femboy VTuber who was recently removed on several social media platforms, including YouTube and Twitter, and a lot of people attribute this to the harassers and stalkers that they've been dealing with for many years, making false reports. And if you want a more detailed breakdown of the timeline and everything going on, you can check out my video from a few days ago. I'll put a link to it in the description. But to sum up, what I talked about, at least partially in that video, was Nux Taku, who obviously is a very popular content creator, had made some very inflammatory statements about Taiga in a video he released about 2 years ago. It was a collab with Moist Critical where they were talking about VTuber drama. And when asked who Taiga is, Nux would reply by saying he is a predator. Now, of course, that had a big impact because there's 350,000 views on that video, and Nux would pin a comment a few months later trying to address the situation and also saying that there is a private investigator looking at the situation with Taiga and the allegations that they were facing at the time. And a few months after that, there would be a private investigator and they would conclude their investigation by saying that Taiga was exonerated, that they did not do the things that they were accused of by some people who turned out to be actually Taiga's harassers and stalkers who were making false allegations. Now, the only response we would get beyond that point was a small statement made in a podcast 6 months ago on the Some Ordinary podcast, where about 20 minutes into that podcast, Nux would somewhat address what happened with Taiga and also at the same time say things like he had an issue because he liked little boys and all these things, and it still made Taiga look pretty bad, and there wasn't a real, genuine apology or an attempt to take accountability for his role in spreading misinformation about Taiga. And I ended my previous video by talking about what Nux is currently facing, which is some people trying to make allegations based on some responses and DMs and replies he had with Shadman. And a lot of people are looking at this response right here where he was asking Shadman to collab, and he said that apparently he was doing this so he could expose and clown on Shadman. And at the end of the day, I believe a lot of these things involving Shadman right now are a reach where they're trying to see anyone who interacted with him and they make these allegations based on that. And I think it's a witch hunt and Nux is caught up in it. But the reason I pointed that out is because he said he was on vacation and taking a break from parts of the internet, in particular Twitter. And I took his word for it, but I didn't realize that during that time, he was active on Kick. He had streamed nearly every single day when he said he was taking a break and he was going on this vacation. And during 2 of those streams, he would talk about the Taiga situation and he would give more thoughts on it. And honestly, a lot of it is really doubling down and making some smoke screens here. And I'm going to focus on this right here. This was from the most previous mention he made on Kick about Taiga. He actually re-uploaded this VOD onto YouTube a few days ago on his alt channel, Nuxanor, and you can see, if you check it out yourself, he talks about Taiga about 48 minutes into this stream. And again, just like with the Some Ordinary podcast episode, it has nothing to do with Taiga. It's about a Mr. Beast video that he's reacting to. But what did he say during that video? Well, let's play this clip right here.
Yeah, I just got a comment there. Let me show you. This is a wild one. All right, like, funny seeing someone talking about something being bullshit while also being the person who deplatformed and destroyed someone's life over false allegations with no evidence and doing zero research. Right, this is obviously talking about Bungo Taiga. I f***ed up with the Bungo Taiga thing. I am sorry for it, and I have apologized multiple times in private, in public, on my podcast. I have apologized multiple times because I said that, I don't know the full story, but he's a pedophile instead of an alleged pedophile after he left the internet for like 5 months. Then he came back. Okay? I made a mistake. This was 2 years ago. And I took accountability for it multiple times. But for some reason, this guy, I know I'm going after one commenter, but I've gotten like thousands of comments about this. Like, you think I deplatformed him? People are blaming me for deplatforming him? He got banned for sexual content. But you're blaming me for deplatforming him? Destroyed his life? You think I destroyed his life when the video where I talked about apologizing for it has more views than the video where I originally mentioned it, like, as a throwaway sentence? Over false allegations? I didn't make any allegations. I said what someone else said, and I was wrong to do that. But, like, there are so many comments like this everywhere. Like, You can never trust YouTube commenters.
So to clarify, in his first stream where he talked about Taiga recently, he spent about 15 minutes talking about it, but that clip right there from the next stream is a better summation of what he was generally saying. And I want to start by noticing the way he is trying to reframe the issue. He is trying to use this one comment with 0 likes and say that all the people who are mad at him right now are claiming that he is personally responsible for deplatforming Taiga, which is a big reach and something people like me don't agree with. You're not the sole reason he was deplatformed. You didn't tell people to go report him. You didn't do any of that. The reason people have an issue with you has to do with accountability on this situation involving Taiga. You have not taken proper accountability. The issue here is that you contributed to the hostility being directed towards Taiga. You try to claim that you didn't in any way harm Taiga's life. You are not solely responsible for ruining Taiga's life. That's an exaggeration. But I think you did harm Taiga. And I think you contributed this by calling him a predator on a video that, before you even made the pinned comment, already had hundreds of thousands of views. That clearly contributed to the harassment campaign that Taiga's been facing for years now over these false allegations. You have to acknowledge your role here. Now, another thing that Nux does in this video is talk about how the views on the quote-unquote apology video are higher than the initial video where he made the slanderous statements about Taiga, which is already a very weird point, but with a quick search, you can see that the original VTuber drama video and the Somewhere in a Podcast episode, they're within 1,000 views of each other. He harps on this point over and over again, trying to show this as somehow something that's in his favor because that has less views than the quote-unquote apology video when they're very close. And on top of that, why does it matter so much? Like, does that somehow relieve you of any wrongdoing in the situation? You still slandered him in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Don't you get why this was an issue? And overall, he's using things like this as a shield. And a lot of people are mad that you're not taking full accountability. You're saying sorry, but you're not really doing much to fix what you said. In fact, going back to the pinned comment, this was made 2 months after the video was released. At that point, the majority of the views have already been collected, so at least a couple 100,000 people were exposed to these slanderous statements. And this is the internet, and Nux knows this too. People will hear a comment like that once, and they just believe it at face value, and now they mistreat and harass or even disassociate with someone over something someone said. They just believe it at face value. So it definitely did have a very big impact, and this pinned comment didn't do much to take accountability. It didn't help fix the situation. You have a video with 350,000 views, but then a pinned comment with 170 likes. That pinned comment was made 2 years ago, and it's amassed 170 likes. And I've also heard, as you can see right here, the pinned comment is edited, and as some people have claimed, this was unpinned temporarily. Now, I don't know if this is true right now, but I know it was true back in 2022 when this was made. If you would edit a pinned comment on your YouTube video, it would unpin the comment. And that happened to me. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. It happened to me a couple times before I realized what was happening. And Taiga claims that this comment, after he edited it, was unpinned for quite some time, which of course would kind of make sense because there's so few likes on this video. And I mentioned that not to accuse Nux of anything. I'm not saying he maliciously did that. It might have been an honest mistake, and it probably was. But it just shows that the signal boost of this initial attempt here was pretty weak. I mean, really, who's seen this? Not many people over the course of 2 years. And on top of that, he really harkens on the fact that he made an apology already. This was 6 months ago on the Somewhere in a Podcast. Again, it's not an official standalone apology. It is something buried 20 minutes into a video that's about totally different topics. And on top of that, this recent one was uploaded on Kick, arguably his smallest platform. And these were points that were raised by Taiga himself. And you can see there's a fan page here, and he would react in much more depth than what I am today. A very close reaction to everything that Nux said during his Kick streams. And I'll put a link to this in the description, but I want to let Taiga speak on another point that Nux keeps raising, and it's the fact that he believes that his private apology should be enough. He thinks he's already done so much. He did his public apology, and then he did a private apology to Taiga, and that somehow is the end of it. Well, again, just like anything else, it doesn't really feel satisfactory when you're dealing with a public accusation and largely a private apology in response.
Apparently Bungo Taiga on his streams for like the last year has been saying that I never apologized for wronging him, and
you guys have watched my past streams, right? So that's lie number one.
I don't know, this guy Bungo Taiga, and I apologized to him privately that...
Let me be clear. Let me check exactly what he said. So, yeah, he said, hey, man, I saw some clips of your stream floating around. You asked me to reach out, so here I am. To be frank, I saw a lot of leaked DMs and stuff months ago about you, so I'm hesitant to give you the benefit of the doubt. But that said, I don't want to spread misinformation about you either, despite my disclaimers. I apologize if that's what I ended up doing. I apologize if that's what I ended up doing. And then I said, you know, you saw some leaked DMs of me grooming someone? Because, like, where's that? And then blah, blah, blah. I say a bunch of shit. And then he's like, this guy sounds like bad news. And I'm sorry you and others had to deal with him. The guy is saying sounds like bad news is literally my stalker who he said I groomed. Who he said I groomed. The stalker who he said I groomed. I never said he didn't apologize. I explicitly gave the method to which he did apologize, which was a private apology in DMs. The problem with that, Nux, okay? The problem with that is that you slandered me to over 200, well, I think the video has over 350,000 views now. 350,000 people plus Moist Critical, right? So that's lie number one. Obviously, I never said you didn't apologize. I don't know, like, where are you getting this from? Every single video, I literally outline the method on which you apologized and how it was lackluster for the damage you've caused me.
To reiterate what Taiga is saying, they acknowledge that Nux has made attempts to apologize. In fact, the supposed apologies are a part of the timeline of events that help explain all the damage that has been caused. They are not saying you didn't apologize. They're saying you never took real accountability. Your apologies were not done very well. Now, there's some other things I want to talk about in terms of the comments he made on Kick really quickly. So there are multiple instances where Nux would just make instantly disprovable lies. Okay, at one point he talked about the investigator. He claimed that Taiga hired the investigator to exonerate them, basically saying they hired someone to work in their defense. When that's not the case, you can read it in the first few lines of the Google Doc. This was an independent investigator who had nothing to do with Taiga. They saw the situation and wanted to look into it for themselves. In fact, they admit that they went into the situation as an investigator initially thinking that Taiga was guilty, but after looking at the evidence, they changed their analysis and exonerated Taiga. In fact, I've heard this claim from other people who have looked into this. There's a YouTuber by the name of Royalty who made a pretty good video or set of videos on the situation, and even they said they went into their research with Taiga under the assumption that they were guilty of the things they were accused of, and then after looking at the evidence, they changed their mind and said, hey, there's a lot of things here that don't add up and there's a lot of false allegations, and Taiga is not the monster that people are trying to make him out to be. But again, instantly disprovable lie. And another one is that Nux claims that Taiga took a 5-month break around the time these allegations first came out, which again, instantly disprovable. You can see that Taiga was streaming during this time. And on top of that, it's just a weird thing to say because Nux tried to claim that break made Taiga look guilty, like they had something to hide, that's why they left the internet. The irony of that is crazy because right now, Nux is taking a break on Twitter while also facing crazy allegations from people on Twitter. So does that mean you're guilty of what people are trying to say about you? No, it doesn't, but by your own logic, it would hold some weight to support that you're guilty of these things because you took a break. Again, you'll also see over and over again, Nux saying this is the biggest L of his life, biggest L of his career. But then in the next breath, try to downplay everything, trying to downplay the impact on Taiga, claiming they didn't harm Taiga's life, that they're not responsible for X, Y, or Z, but they clearly did something, clearly. And the issue here is not taking accountability. It's like you can make as many offhand remarks, 20 minutes, 48 minutes into your streams. You can make pinned comments that get nowhere near the attention of the video that contains slanderous comments initially. Those things do not add up to what feels like accountability. You could probably end this whole thing by making a 1-minute long apology addressing everything more directly, where you actually have an understanding of the timeline, because that's another issue. It seems like Nux has no idea, no understanding of the timeline of events involved with the accusations against Taiga. and just sit there and give an honest feedback on everything that's happened. Just an honest reaction and say, yeah, I messed up, and I don't need to keep going after Taiga like they are in their kick streams recently. Just say you messed that up, you should have apologized sooner and addressed it sooner and more honestly and looked into the details of everything that happened, and that's it. And I think a lot of people would accept that. Will everyone? Of course not. Some people say too little too late. But dragging this out over years is only causing more issues, not only for Taiga, but for you too. It's not a good look. This has not been a good set of looks for you as a content creator. It is a bad experience that is reflected on you that you've never fully addressed. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. That is the update. And I honestly kind of hope the last time we're going to be talking about this, I hope things resolve themselves and Taiga gets their accounts back and Nux takes more accountability for this, but we'll just have to wait and see on all those things. But as always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.